Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Up right in the corner we got Kim Sabu Ho. Probably mispronounced that. Light is the player, bottom right hand corner as the, and I think I said the wrong corner, as the green Terran bottom right. This is Airfu as the white Protoss. This is on Pantheon, which is I think a remake of Gladiator. So they removed, basically they removed a lot of the mid ground, high ground, low ground thing mid map to make it a little bit less abusive for like up high ground, low ground attack radiuses. 9 o'clock, and then otherwise it's kind of the same sort of thing where you've got your natural expansion, kind of a weird ramp. I think they've, I feel like that's what map makers have been doing recently, is they've just been showing off the weird ramp, single Zerg egg in the way, which makes it a little bit hard to reinforce to the natural expansion. This is also pretty wide natural. And then you've got mineral only here at the 6 o'clock. As far as like the nearby expansion, you got the mineral only there as far as a mirror, and then it's a 4-player map beyond that. Where at the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you got the 5,000 gas, 3 o'clock location, you got the from there. So Gladiator minus the middle, etc., etc. Look for it in this upcoming season of ASL. So everybody these days they're taking their meta cues from two people, and that's Light and that's Flash. Now that Flash is playing again, that just is kind of like the stereotypical thing. I'm interested to see what Light is doing these days in PvT, and that, or TVP, I should say, which is kind of why I wanted to check this out. Airfu is definitely a pro gamer. I would definitely favor Light though. Overall, I haven't seen Airfu in an ASL. I'm not sure what the last thing he did as far as pro gamer or whatever, but I know that he's got his license, I believe. Anyway, Assimilator Gateway opener from here. I remember him playing in Pro League, but it's been quite some time. Looks like we're going to see an in-base barracks, by the way, and a quick gas refinery, which kind of makes sense given the exterior architecture of this map. So this, I'm not sure that this is going to be like the best indicator of like, oh, this is because of the map, but I do want to kind of get a flavor and see what happens. I feel like so Flash, what he's been doing is playing a very, very aggressive early game and just trying to knock down the Dragoon count, which pushes back when he needs to build his academy and engineering bay and everything like that, because he just gets all the scouting information he needs from just ultra aggression in the early stages of the match. Looks like a kind of an interior, recognizing it's harder to get out of natural expansion. By the way, we're seeing an SCV right there. So it looks like this is going to be single Marine built though. So no additional Marines, and that Marine actually making its way out quite a distance. Looks like the SCV was able to get first scout, encountered each other between, and it's just going to be gateway range here. But it's anyway, so Flash going for that. I've kind of recognized, I think the problem with doing that is the strength of Terran is getting that siege tank count up eventually, and then Protoss just doesn't stand up against it, right? Is it Protoss armies build faster, but Zealots die to vultures, Dragoons die to siege tanks, particularly when they're sieged. So you need like Psystorm drops interior to range where you can get picked off and things like that, or Stasis, which is a little bit more reliable. It looks like it's going to be one gate to expand. By the way, and it looks like it's just going to be the 3 Marine, not even a vulture, going to go straight machine shop upon scouting that into expand here from Light. Light, brilliant optimizer, by the way. Dragoon making its way out. Will be able to scout that, but is going to take a lot of shield damage from those Marines. Ooh, and SCV actually using this opportunity to scoop back up. Should know that Dragoon's on the way since he didn't run into it between point A and point B. Bit of damage done there. The Dragoon able to confirm the natural expansion, but since it got the shield shred, it's going to go ahead and back out. Range is upgrading another pylon there on the way, and that SCV will take a couple shots from this Dragoon, but should be able to, well, never mind. Not even, just on move command. But anyway, what the other Terran have been doing instead is not going exactly upgrade Terran. I feel like upgrade Terran has kind of been figured out by Protoss, going with the early Reaver to negate the faster timings. And then I like Light just kind of sticking in there to try to get a look at the Dragoon numbers to make sure he knows whether it's sticking to 1 gate or 2 gate. I think he's got a pretty good sense that it's just 1 gate looking at the Dragoon count that's out there. The robotics facility being dropped. So 1 gate robo. This is kind of what's more typical for Protoss these days. 1 gate robo, get the observatory, get a Reaver out, and that provides you some good bufferage against early attacks. Light making his way out with 5 Marines and a siege tank and an SCV alongside. This is going to be against what should be 4 Dragoons by the time he gets up here. So we'll see how, and there's only a little bit of damage on one of these Marines. That Marine is out in front, however. So we'll see if you can get some damage out of this. And this Dragoon, a little bit far afield. And you always got to worry about this, because if that SCV goes uncontested, you can get a barracks up and some other whatnot. So Dragoons trying to micro against the Marine. Vulture making its way out. Probes pulled briefly off the line. A single mine at the natural. And Airfu looks like he is going to be able to get the mines down here initially. And that should be it for that attack. Light actually turning around. He needs to be careful here. He wants that Dragoon on the corner. Got the Dragoon. Is now going to back out. A little bit persistent. A little bit dangerous. Could have a couple of focus fire shots. Would have been dangerous. Once this additional Dragoon is out, look for Airfu to go ahead and try to clear that mine. But anyway, what other Terran have been doing is essentially going kind of one or two factories here initially, getting some vultures out on the map, doing that kind of standard stuff. There's the mine clearage. And then going up to 4 or 5, sometimes 6. But basically, it's halvesies. It's like, okay, I have a large enough army where if you missed your macro and you went greedy, I'm going to kill you. But if not, I have enough troops to deal with how many troops you have out here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab an additional base and still try to make my way to 200 supply and upgrades from there. That tends to not... Unfortunately, that has not worked out very well for Terran overall. Protoss have just gotten very good at macroing and then turning it into guerrilla style from there and just going for storm drops and things like that. It really puts the initiative back in Protoss hands, which is why I think Flash has been experimenting with this. Anyway, so that's the meta as I have observed it. Definitely trust guys like Artosis and Tasteless over me because they actually play on ladder versus me. He's just an armchair guy. Vulture's rushing up, able to find a gap here in the natural expansion, going to be able to pick off a few probes. Nice pickup there from Light. He's also going to notice that there's no second gas here as of yet. So third base there up to the 12 o'clock location. Some nice time in. Light actually moving out with a good amount of siege tanks and vultures right here. Is he going to go for an assault on that third? So kind of going for an interior, so a two factory off timing. He's not going to have the mines in between. So a risk of this is that the Dragoons actually crash down on that natural expansion and turn it into a base trade. There's also some pylons there in between. So we'll see what Airfu decides to do. So the siege tank's making their way up. Siege tank, by the way, not upgraded as of yet. The vultures screening in between, able to get some mines planted. The siege tank trying to get some damage done as well. So Airfu bullied back away from that 12 o'clock. But now, does Airfu just go for that natural expansion? It looks like not. Because Light continuing to try to test, it looks like he's just going to go for a zealot drop instead to try to defend that 9 o'clock. And keep in mind, Light's doing this with nothing left at that natural. So Zealot's dropping, getting a decent mine drag into the siege tanks to go ahead. Ooh, a lot of Dragoons getting picked off in the midst of this, but this is going to be cleaned up. That Nexus will still be finished, and it's kind of an army reset both directions. And Vulture's able to get another mine drag to get a couple additional troops, but Light now going aggressive here in the mid game and just continuing to push Vultures at all directions. So allowing his aggression to be his defense. I'm not sure you'd do this against a different Protoss though, because I could see another Protoss like Best just sacking this third and going for the attack there. And I don't know that Light would be able to defend against a concentrated Dragoon count. There seems to be something in the Terran meta right this second though, which is keep the Dragoon count low to where, because able to get some probes here, because there's a lot of advantages to that. One, Vultures still remain effective while the Dragoon count remains smaller. Once they get into larger numbers like this, the Vultures start getting one shot and have other trouble. And also siege tanks start getting one shot in the space of that. Another blockade. Vulture continue to scramble out. Do we have, how many siege tanks do we even have out? So now we're seeing that flood. So despite all that action, excuse me, in the early game, we're seeing a push to, it looks like 5 factories here in the mid game. So Light kind of experimenting, from what I'm seeing, kind of experimenting with, let's just get aggressive, keep the troop count low, and then we'll go the 5 factory flood and grab the 6 o'clock, and Protoss will be so much on the defensive, they're not going to contest that third base, and then we'll play from there. Vulture also checking top left in the space of this. However, and you can see the supply count's still not favorable for Airfu. He's not quite as high as he wants to be, as far he's just within like 9. But at the same time, the siege tank count isn't massive for Light in the space of this, and he's still running off 2 fast, so he's gonna have like 4 siege tanks and 4 siege tanks to try to defend 3 bases. So I think he's kind of relying on, and I don't know that I think the Dragoon count is high enough potentially, and kind of trying to rely on on lack of information from Airfu and to try to defend a lot of this. Couple Goliaths out. So this is just a very anemic army to what you'd see comparatively at the 10-minute mark for like just standard upgrade Terran, where we only got 4 siege tanks in the midst of this, 4 Goliaths, and a few vultures here. At the same time, because of all that earlier damage, we're not seeing, Airfu's not positing like a massive counter army. So light is going to be able to hold all this. So I guess it kind of balances out in the end, but we are going to see a transition. Wow, was that comsat just like right on time? I think that comsat was like directly over the build point from Airfu. I'll try to, yeah, gonna check the natural expansion as well to see how many Dragoons are. I think he's just looking for, after the initial comsat, seeing the timing of that Stargate. Also trying to find if there's any holes for vultures. And the other thing, I think for Protoss at this level, they hear that comsat near that natural, and the alert goes up where it's like, I better protect some of these expansions, right? Vultures trying to make their way out to get a little bit more mine coverage across these bridge lines. I guess this is kind of where I think this is new between Gladiator and whatnot, by the way. 4th base getting grabbed a little bit later, so Light has been able to even up the supply. He has in the meantime gone up to 6 factories, still sitting on the double machine shop. So the tank count's still a little bit lower, but it'll be a higher vulture count, and is starting to attack on the upgrades. I think he's only got +1 is kind of the difference in between all this. Dragoon's just mind. This is kind of pro gamer thing, is how do they know to stop right there? Is it just like, oh, now I know Protoss and their patterns? It's interesting though, because I will say what has happened in the space, and this is what Terran seem to be, again, going to what they're experimenting with, where it's like, let's just try to delay the Protoss mid game a bit. It has kind of done interesting things where the Arbiters are coming out later, where it's just kind of base gateway units for a longer period of time. And it's not like it's, oh, this is gateway man. Ah! Dragoons survive. Massive amount, and actually this is at even supply, so I think this might be a larger army here. Dragoon getting pinned, Zealots and Dragoons, so we got a control group and a half, and a control group right there. The army not fully concentrated from Airfu, but at the same time, these Vultures don't have +2 weapons, so they're not hitting as hard. And Zealots don't have leg speed is the other trick of it, so they're not able to really contest that army. So Light finding a nice gap. He's got a 9 supply lead, able to pick off that Observer, and is now in striking distance of that natural expansion. And Airfu, again, still no Zealot leg speed. Zealot leg speed very, very delayed in the space of this. So he's going to end up with a camped out Terran army at his natural expansion. So big play right here. So he's got that 4th base up, but unsaturated, can't transfer troops to it. And Airfu now boxed in. Doesn't matter if you have a stronger economy if you can't get your troops out on the map. Light with a brilliant move right there. I'm not sure if I want to call that brilliant to Light or slap the hand of Airfu for not getting Zealot leg speed out in time. Arbiter making its way out. Doesn't, nowhere near stasis or anything else, so it's just providing a slight bit of cloaking. But Light's army is just much larger, so there's a GG from Airfu. Great play from Light. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.